What is the future of work? Will robots and automation destroy us or save us? If you ask an economist what the future of work looks like, she will probably tell you that 47% of our jobs are going away. If you ask a journalist, he will point you to a whole host of articles talking about robots replacing humans. And if you ask a technologist, she will probably tell you that technology will be our savior. The truth about this future lies somewhere in between. Will technology create abundance that defines our future? Robots who can make and do everything for us, drones who will bring us what we want when we want it, self-driving cars who will take us wherever we need to go without being behind the wheel? Or will scarcity define our future? The same robots that bring us efficiency will leave us unemployed and on a universal basic income. The drones that serve us could disrupt local economies and small businesses, and the self-driving cars could displace millions and millions of jobs and threaten livelihoods. As a cultural anthropologist by training, I have been secretly fascinated by the twin engines of angst, this tension between abundance and scarcity. And here's why. I grew up in a leafy green suburb outside of Boston in the United States. This is a town of abundance. Good public education, top-notch healthcare, big houses, wealthy neighbors. This was the center of my universe, and abundance was all I knew for 16 years. This all changed when my parents, both of whom were educators, sent me on an exchange program to live with a family on a rice paddy in Malaysia. I shared a bed with my host sister, learned to bathe with buckets in the backyard, and began wrestling with this dichotomy of scarcity and abundance. What do we mean by scarcity and abundance? Is it what it seems? This tension, or perhaps here in Germany you would say Unbehagen, this discomfort between scarcity and abundance seems to be pervasive, something that many of us wrestle with today. And this is something I continue to wrestle with in my job today at a company called Autodesk. At Autodesk, we are in the business of selling design technology that helps people make anything on the planet. Our customers are the ones that design the phone in your pocket, the hotel you stayed at, the cities and buildings that you live and work in, even the movies that entertain you. These are the things our customers design. So we are helping more customers design more things for more people. Abundance. But we also recognize the finite limits of this planet and the need to design more things with less negative impact. Our tools actually automate the very process of designing and making. In fact, as a company, we've been in the automation business for more than 30 years. Some would say that we are part of the problem, creating technology that is changing jobs. However, today I'm here to tell you that the very technology that we fear may destroy us is actually exactly the technology we need today more than ever before to create and design a future that promises abundance for billions of people. And I do believe that abundance within planetary limits is possible. Let me tell you why I'm optimistic. Today, there are over 7 billion people living on the planet. In 30 years, by 2050, we'll have 10 billion people sharing this planet. 75% of these people will live in urban centers and cities that don't have clean water or infrastructure to support them. We're going to need to build 14 million buildings in the next 30 years. That's 5,000 buildings that we need to build today and every day into the future. And not only will we need to design and build new buildings, we also need to repair and rebuild crumbling infrastructure that exists today. 5 billion of these people will live in what's considered the global middle class. That's 400,000 people who will join the middle class today and every day into the future. They'll want their air conditioners, their washing machines, their cars, computers, all the luxury goods that we take for granted in places like this. Billions of people will need highways and hospitals, education and energy, water and wheat, and consumer goods, lots and lots of them. More is inevitable. And yet, our planet has limits. How do we make all of these things without racing through limited resources? How do we upgrade existing infrastructure without overwhelming our landfills? How do we support people like my host family and give them access to energy, water, and basic sanitation? How do we power these lifestyles without relying on fossil fuel-based energy as we have in years past? This is the reality of less. We can't continue to use and consume energy, materials, and water in the same way going forward. We know that. So it's about more, better, with less negative impact. This is a massive design challenge, but it is also the design opportunity of a lifetime. How do we help design more things for more people, but do it using less resources, less energy, less water, less waste, less time, less negative impact on the planet? This is the opportunity to design and make everything better, to design better lives and better livelihoods for billions of people. And here's the thing. We humans can't solve such complex challenges fast enough on our own, and we need help. And that's where robots and automation technology can help. When many people hear the word automation, they think about robots on a factory floor, and robots are certainly part of it. But automation is about more than robots. Automation is about using data and the power of abundant computing power to drive our design processes. We can create 3D models like this one using simulation to understand stress and strain on different parts of a design. Or to understand aerodynamics to be able to design more energy efficient cars. Or to evaluate how heat flows through something like this stove so that we can design it to use less firewood, be smoke-free, and even generate enough electricity to power a light or a cell phone, which changes the game for this family. Today, automation technology is amplifying our human abilities. Instead of just simulating during design, technology today helps us discover design. Technology, in fact, has become a creative partner in the design process. And rather than having technology that awaits our instruction, we now have tools that anticipate our needs, tools that actually augment our ability. And automation is not only changing how we work, but more importantly, it's changing what we can now do in our work. This is the opportunity of better. We can now make better decisions about everything that we are designing and making. So as I tell you a few stories about people who are using technology to make the world better, I want you to reflect on your work and the future that you are helping to co-create. What are you working on today? What do you want to be working on? And how are you using technology for good? As you'll see, we have incredibly powerful technology at our fingertips, but we need the best and brightest talent with courage and confidence to fully leverage this technology so that we can design and make a better future for billions and billions of people. So let's look at what I mean by better. Let's start with buildings. People have been designing buildings for centuries. But today, people are designing high-performance buildings, buildings that generate as much energy as they consume. With a 3D building information model, whole building energy analysis can happen in a matter of minutes by anyone, instead of requiring a whole team of energy specialists and experts and weeks and months to generate that analysis. This changes the game in terms of how people work and their jobs, but more importantly, it changes the kind of buildings we can build at scale. A building that generates more energy than it consumes, that's a better building. What about existing buildings? How can technology help us restore and renovate existing infrastructure? In May 2015, an 8.1 magnitude earthquake devastated the region in and around Kathmandu, Nepal. Thousands of people died, 800,000 homes were destroyed, and dozens of buildings were reduced to rubble. Our customer, Build Change, is helping to rebuild, but they want to rebuild better so that the buildings can withstand the next natural disaster. They've been using drones and photogrammetry and VR technology to capture the physical world and bring it into the digital world. They've mapped entire villages, like you see here, including extremely remote villages. Engineers who are working off-site are able to see the structures up close and quickly assess what's going on. And the local teams on the ground can understand whether a structure needs to be demolished or whether it can be renovated and retrofitted. And here's the thing. These teams can do all of this work without taking a step into the physical world, so that not only do they not put themselves at risk of dangerous buildings, they also are not getting in the way of the rescue operations. Better safety, better homes for many people who live in disaster-prone areas, better, more resilient infrastructure. Let's look at a few other examples where automation is a design partner. What role could automation play in helping move people from point A to point B? Now, in transportation, better is often about energy, both less energy, but also better sources, cleaner energy. And in regard to airplanes specifically, energy efficiency comes down to material efficiency. A lighter airplane takes less energy to fly. So we recently partnered with Airbus to reimagine the airplane of the future. They wanted to lightweight a part of their plane, this partition that you see in pink here. Now, rather than directing the computer to draw a design that we had in mind, instead we used a technology called Generative Design. Now, with Generative Design, you tell the computer the intent. I want to design this partition to be stronger than the original and significantly less weight. And then the computer explores thousands of different options and identifies the best outcome given our design parameters. Always coming up with designs that we humans couldn't possibly have come up with on our own. And here it is, a generatively designed and 3D printed cabin partition. It's stronger than the original and half its weight, which is unheard of in the airline industry. Now, if this were implemented across the entire fleet of A320s, Airbus estimates that the energy savings would be like removing 100,000 cars from the road. Imagine the energy, material, and cost savings if we apply generative design to hundreds of seats in these airplanes. Or what if we apply generative design to the design of the aircraft in its entirety? Wouldn't that make flying fun again? But Airbus is taking it even further. Just this week, we launched a new project with Airbus called Discovery Space. This is giving students and young people an opportunity to design and build a virtual spacecraft. So what else could we design and make with generative design as our creative partner? How about generatively designed buildings? For Autodesk's latest office building in Canada, we use generative design. So in addition to feeding the computer forces impacting the building, like daylight, travel paths, and acoustics, we also surveyed the inhabitants. Who do you have scheduled meetings with? How often do you like to get coffee? How impacted are you by acoustics and daylight? We then were able to incorporate everyone's input and use the power of computation to evaluate and generate thousands of design options for the building. And the result is an incredible work environment that's designed to maximize productivity, employee well-being, and happiness. Imagine if we could optimize the design of entire cities, or even just neighborhoods, incorporating the needs of citizens as part of that design process. It turns out this is happening. Van Wijnen is a family business in the Netherlands, which builds and constructs a lot of property, including affordable net zero energy housing. Now, for many of us, net zero energy affordable housing sounds paradoxical, but not for Van Wijnen. They're not like most construction companies. During a recent downturn, they evaluated their whole business model, looking at the viability of the business that they were in. They looked beyond their profession and started thinking more like an automotive manufacturer rather than a traditional construction company. They developed a modular concept for housing, and by 2015, all of their homes were constructed on site in 3 days. They also changed the way they designed these buildings. In a pilot project, they too used generative design to explore 15,000 different design options, optimizing across multiple dimensions at once, to design both modular homes, but also entire neighborhoods. They were able to optimize and adjust the desires based on the desires of the occupants living in that building or that neighborhood, even evolving and reconfiguring the houses as the needs change over time. Now, cost and profit were also important to Van Wijnen. They are a business after all, but the process of generative design helped them reconcile livability and sustainability, affordability and profitability. So remember the 5,000 buildings that we need to design and make today and every day into the future? We can now put more roofs over more people's heads and do it quickly, efficiently, and affordably. What about robots? Robots are nothing new. They've been helping us for decades. What's changing is the way that we are now collaborating with robots. With traditional robots, absolute conformity and precision was required. You program a robot to do exactly what you need it to do. But what if robots could learn as they go, get smarter, anticipate, and adapt to our needs? I want you to meet our robot, Ash. We've been working with Ash for a number of years. She's no different than most robots, except that we've been training her and giving her freedom to 3D print stainless steel all by herself. Ash doesn't rely on us for direction. We provide her with a desired output geometry, and then the software figures out the instruction set for the robot to print exactly what we want. Ash is aware of what she's doing. She's keeping track of the quality of the print, and if needed, she's able to correct and reprogram herself in real time in order to avoid a potential failure. She's flexible and adaptive. She only makes what she needs and produces almost no waste. When you think about all the things that we need to design, build, and construct to provide for 10 billion people, the opportunity to work together with robots as our partners is immense. We've been working recently with the team at MX3D to robotically 3D print this bridge. It may look easy, but it's not. You can't 3D print in steel the same way you can in plastic. These robots have sensors, so they can track how hot every piece of metal is. A machine learning algorithm helps the robot learn and adapt so they can change their welding strategy on the fly as it goes. Now, MX3D is taking it further. The technology is being used to actually help us understand how this bridge will perform after it's built. They're instrumenting the bridge with sensors and using that data to drive a digital twin that reflects the state of the real bridge in real time. They can now build up knowledge about how this particular bridge performs so that they can future-proof it. Imagine the infrastructure we can construct together with robots, and imagine what it would look like to future-proof that infrastructure. Remember the 7.5 billion people who will be living in cities, many of which are crumbling or not yet built? Or perhaps an issue closer to hand for many of you here in Germany, think about the millions of refugees who need to be quickly resettled in pop-up cities. We're working with the UNHCR, the High Commission of Refugees, the site and settlement team globally. This spring, we've been working with the team in Bangladesh in an area called Cox's Bazar, where 700,000 Rohingya refugees have arrived since August, a matter of months. The refugees have self-settled in areas that are prone to floods and mudslides during the monsoon season, which is soon to start. So the UNHCR is working to rapidly design and construct new homes, and then move the 120,000 families who are most at risk into these houses, and do all of this before the monsoon rains hit. The team here is using satellite photographs to do 3D modeling of the settlement and quickly analyze for mud, floods, landslide, typhoon, and monsoon risks. And time is the most important factor. The faster they can resettle and relocate refugees, the more lives will be saved. In this context, technology and automation can save lives. And this is just one resettlement project in one part of the world. This team is responsible for resettling 35 million refugees worldwide. That's equivalent to 10 cities the size of Berlin. Better settlements, better refugee experiences, better tools can save lives. This is the opportunity of better. So back to this question, will technology destroy or save us? Hopefully, it's becoming obvious that technology can not only help us, but it can save lives. It sounds dramatic, but it's happening today. And technology is not just automating routine tasks and making us more productive. That is happening. But it's amplifying and augmenting our human ability, enabling us to design and make things we couldn't do alone as humans. We couldn't design that airplane partition part alone. We couldn't quickly design safe, affordable, net zero housing. We couldn't resettle 700,000 refugees quickly enough. The inevitability of more, the reality of less, and the opportunity of better. This is the future that people like us get to create. A future with resilient communities, circular economies, mobile modular homes that can be infinitely reconfigured, and robust human-machine collaboration, new ways to collaborate together with robots, and technology. So now that we have the technology, what we need is the confidence and ambition to skill up and learn new ways to work with this technology. This is about you, about us. And when I reflect back on my own work, my own career, I never would have expected to be giving a talk on robots and automation and technology. Perhaps my 12-year-old will be giving these talks. He dreams of designing a robot to clean his room or walk the dog. But me, remember, I'm a cultural anthropologist. My interest is people, culture, and cultures. As a human species, as a business community, as Republica and attendees, we can design better. But what we need is people like you, courageous, creative, confident people, people with the will and the mindset to help us design and make everything better. Of course, this will not be easy. We've seen technology go awry, especially in places like California, but we each get to decide what we will do with our lives and how we will use the technology. Just as Angela Merkel decided to support 1 million refugees, a decision that stands in stark contrast to other leaders, it is up to us to put a stake in the ground and decide what we want to stand for. Now, I have a hunch that many of us in this room are fairly privileged. Many of us have known abundance in our lives, as I have, and I believe that many, if not all of us, have the capacity and perhaps the luxury to envision the world that could be, not just what is, so that we can design and make a future that we want to live in. A future for all of us, where 10 billion people live well, prosper, and thrive, a future of well-designed abundance on this finite planet. Thank you.